Have you ever witnessed strange lights in the sky or experienced missing time? If so, you're not alone. These high strangeness incidents happen to people every day, all over the world, and we want to get to the bottom of them. Since 1969, MUFON has been at the forefront of UFO investigations, and we're not stopping now. Join Alex and Ruben, a team of highly skilled MUFON field investigators with years of experience committed to getting to the truth. We'll investigate UFO events through guest interviews and witness accounts, analyzing data from various sources. Let's work together to unravel the mysteries of the unknown and get answers to the questions that have been unanswered for so long.
Hello and welcome to another episode of MUFON Up Close. My name is Alex Tusia and I'm joined with Ruben Uriarte.
How's it going, Shawn? Oh, I'm seeing Shawn is our guest. How's it going, Alex?
Doing good. It's been a definitely exciting couple of weeks with the congressional hearing, the Senate hearing on Arrow. Lots of, good disclosure coming out.
Yeah, it's been fascinating. I never thought the day would come that we would be hearing about UFOs being discussed live on the Senate and the congressional hearings as well. So hopefully something will come out of it. We're going to be entering into a new Congress, and I hope they just keep it going, having more public hearings.
Yeah, I think it's been great. Lou did a great job on his presentation. A great follow-up to his book that just came out.
Oh, I got it. I've been reading it. It is a very good book. I'm halfway through, and imminent, right?
Yeah.
The book titles I forget sometimes, but
too many. There's too many books to keep track of.
I know. What's interesting is in this field and in the phenomena of ufology and all the other fringe or sort of all the other science that's connected with it. So much reading, so many books, so many interesting theories that people can share, and I've learned from it. I have a shed just totally full of books. It's like my mini library, but books that have been given to me from fellow researchers that have passed away, and I have got to figure out what I'm going to do with it eventually.
Well, I may have to help you cut down that stack a little bit.
There you go.
I got my own pile of books that I read.
Well, we have a real interesting guest, a friend of mine that I've known for many years, and she shares the same enthusiasm as I do in regards to crop circles. And we're really fortunate having Shawn Randall as our guest. And if you like, I can just read a little short bio about her. And then I'll have her go ahead and share anything else that we can learn about her. But as a teacher in mediumship and trace channeling for 40 years, Shawn is the student of consciousness. Her thesis, Phenomena of Crop Circles, Opening a Non-Local Window and Evolving Consciousness, explores the concept of quantum entanglement and interconnectedness between crop circles and human consciousness, as shown in 12 documented examples of connectivity. She has conducted numerous tours to the English crop circles and has spoken at a number of conferences in the United Kingdom. So there's a lot of interesting words in this, but we'll ask her to share with us, what does it all mean? What are crop circles, and how did she get involved? I have a number of questions we can ask her so she can share with our audience. Hello, Shawn.
Hello. Hi there, Ruben. Thank you for having me here. I'm so excited. It's wonderful.
Both Alex and I are very, very happy to have you on our show, and we have a number of questions. And this is your show. We want you to feel free to share anything that you would like to our audience. And again, we welcome you. It's an honor having you on our show.
Thank you. And nice to meet you, Alex, as well. And I'm honored here to be here. It's always nice when somebody says, just go ahead and talk.
Yes.
But I love answering questions. And, but I can start by saying that there's a correlation between my professional work, which is mediumship and channeling. I'm a trance channel, and I've been teaching it for 45 years. And the correlation between that and what I see happening with UFOs, all phenomena, all crossover phenomena, I would call it crossing from one dimension to another, and the idea of interconnected consciousness. And I don't know if you want me to talk about how I got engaged with crop circles.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they are an absolute, I don't know, example isn't even the right size word for this, of interconnectedness. And that may be one of the reasons and one of the purposes behind the phenomena is developing interconnectedness and sharing it in a way that's co-creative. In other words, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start with the story of how I got engaged with it, because it was so uncanny I couldn't ignore it. As you may or may not know, crop circles exist mostly in England. They're all over the world, actually. There have been 70 countries that have had crop circles, but the majority of them are in England, in the UK, where the fields are perfect for it. There's just the right amount of chalk underground, and there's aquifers and things that seem to be part of the mechanics of how they're made. So in England, and I found myself fascinated with an image that was shown in a lecture in Los Angeles, and I went, "Ooh, that's really intriguing." And it seems to be that it's an image that people respond to all over the place. I mean, and when I'm in line at Trader Joe's, the store, somebody says, "Oh, that's really interesting. What's around your neck?" And that's what sort of pulled me to be interested. So I went to England, and I was with a group of musicians, and we were in London, and I was very jet lagged. This is going someplace, I promise you. And I started scribbling and just doodling on the napkin. It was a Mel Torme concert in a wonderful jazz club. And I'm doodling and not paying any attention. I picked up the napkin, put it in my pocket. And then 2 days later, I had the opportunity to go out into the countryside of England to pursue crop circles if possible. But it was in May. And in May, there aren't very many crop circles because the crops aren't ready yet. They need to be dry and mature. But in May, it was kind of green, the crops, the wheat. So anyway, my two friends drove me out to the countryside, and luck would have it that found the way to get to a crop circle. And we climbed this hill to get into it, and we're there kind of meditating in it. And I said, I've got to draw this circle. And I couldn't figure out what it was. It was very scruffy because it was green wheat. And so I couldn't draw it. It was so scruffy. So I went back to London, and I was again with the musician friends, and we were in an underground parking lot, and I put my hand in my pocket and I pulled out the napkin, and you know what it was. It was the drawing that I had made the first night I was there, that I had doodled. And it was a kind of an artistic yin-yang symbol. And I looked at it and I realized it was the crop circle design I had been in. And it literally stopped me in my tracks. I stopped and I just started exclaiming, oh my God. It was like, and this feeling went through me, this ripple of incongruity. How could that be? And it made me realize that there's a level of consciousness that's interconnected that this was demonstrating. And that's that it was in my unconscious that I doodle this, right? And some consciousness had made that crop circle, and somehow those two images were connected in consciousness. And
Yes.
as a channel, as a medium and trans channel, I know a lot about interconnected consciousness from what we experience in the psi field of psychic phenomena, crossover phenomena. I know a lot about it because I've been studying it, teaching it. And there are certain common denominators to interconnectedness that is off the beaten track, out into the non-local area of thought. And so I thought, this is pulling me in. I've got to understand if these crop circles that are starting all over, this was in 1991, all those years ago, if that's demonstrating this interconnectedness of consciousness in some way. So I was hooked. And have been going to the crop circles almost every single year, every single summer, which is when the crop circles appear, since then. And then bringing groups and tours and experimenting with correlating our group consciousness with the group, whatever, of the circle makers to see if we could, in a sense, co-create imagery and things. And it found that if you do things quite right, which is very esoteric, things can evolve. So it's been a quest for me. I mean, people have accepted mediumship pretty much in our consensus reality, and channeling pretty much, thanks to Shirley MacLaine, as there's an acceptance. But people are very slow to accept crop circles, and one of the reasons why is the flack that comes from ufology. The fact that in that domain of ufology and UAPs, there's still so much skepticism, and which is sad, very sad, because it's not all that different. It's all interconnected. So I'm happy to answer questions, and that's how I got started. I had this uncanny thing happen that proved to me I was connected to this greater phenomena, this greater intelligence, not in a personal way. That's the interesting thing. Telepathic, non-local communication tends to be impersonal, but individual at the same time. That's part of the mystery. So anyway, questions. Yes. I hope that covered a few grounds there.
Yeah,
basically. Go ahead, Alex.
No, you go. I was just saying that was a great intro to how you got into the field.
It was I first met Shawn. Actually, it was through a documentary on ABC. They were talking about crop circles, and all of a sudden I saw her saying, "Oh my God!" She was. I figured that's one of your favorite expressions, because you were looking at a crop circle, and I thought, oh wow, this crop circle must be fascinating. And it wasn't until 1994 I had the opportunity to go on my first tour to England, and that's when I met you there, Shawn, at the Barge Inn, and
94, right?
Yeah,
1994.
And I met a number of other crop circle researchers, and it totally changed my life. I have to share it changed me in many ways, and I had the opportunity to go back to England at least in 7 years in a row, and had some unusual experiences in that. But one question I was thinking about this, Shawn, when I look at those symbols, and I there's several thousand and probably more that have been recorded.
They've guesstimated 6,000 in total since the phenomena started in the 70s and 80s. 6,000.
Wow, that's amazing. When I look at the symbols, I connect with the symbols. It's strange. It's like a feeling of familiarity. It's like I've been connected to them in some way before. And that thought it hit me again today. And I thought, what is it about those symbols that draws me to them? And just wondering if you might be able to share your thoughts.
That's a really great question. They demonstrate sacred geometry. They demonstrate principles of the universe and how the universe is made, that are universal and part of our collective unconscious. For example, the Vesica Pisces, and there actually was a crop circle with that image. The Vesica Pisces, if you take one circle and you start pulling it apart, dividing it into two, that's the Vesica Pisces. That's that formation, and that resonates with everybody. It's very basic and simple, and so it's the building blocks of the universe. The sacred geometry is the building blocks of the universe, together with consciousness. So that's one of the things that's so fascinating about the formations, is that they resonate with us. They're part of the cosmos and who we are.
Right.
And it's very personal, but it's very impersonal at the same time.
Yes.
You said there's been, 6,000 or so different patterns. Do they ever repeat? Do you ever see the same pattern in different places or in the same place?
Occasionally, and there's a great story about that. Yes, occasionally they do. The circle makers, by their actions, tend to show that they're aware of us. And there was a crop circle on the road to Avebury. Avebury is a stone circle like Stonehenge, larger than Stonehenge, and you can go into it. It's not roped off. And so there's an avenue called a procession of stones that leads into Avebury, and there was a crop circle right there on the road up the hill. You had to really look up the hill. Beautiful crop circle. The farmer was so mad that the first morning it was discovered, he mowed it out so that now the crop was flat and gone. You couldn't see it. And the crop circle research, we were all just like, oh no, we didn't get a picture of it. We don't know what it was, because they've been cataloging these for years, a couple of different people. So there was this emotional coherence, I guess, with a whole lot of us saying, we didn't get to see that formation. Well, the next day, on the top of the hill, on the other side of the street, that you can't see from the road, was exactly the same formation, repeated. And the reason we could tell it was exactly the same is because when a crop circle is mowed down, there's a little stubble left of the wheat that was turned and flattened. So you can see the design. Sometimes they call it a ghost design because it's what's left over. And so we could see that these were the same images. That's remarkable. I mean, that to me was like, oh, yep, that's consciousness connection. So yes, the answer is, Alex, yes, they've been repeated, but not much. Not much. And when they are repeated, it's notable.
Shawn, when I went in 1994, it seemed that the symbols were resembling insects, insectograms.
Oh yeah.
There was the big one, the big scorpion one that looked like that happened to appear in Devices, I believe, or somewhere near.
Yeah, just outside Devices on the AC 363.
That was my first formation that I entered, and it just coincided with that 1 week where the Shoemaker comet was crashing into Jupiter in pieces, and it was like they call it. Then I heard that the long tail was like a string of pearls.
Right, and 22. There were 22 of them.
Yeah, and the fact that the astronomers that discovered the comet, they referred to it as a string of pearls. I thought that was pretty fascinating, and that formation happened right within that same week.
So I can add to that. That was a year I was with somebody. We were driving around seeing a lot of. There was no internet at that point, so you had to really fish around to find them in a lot of big fields. And the formation that we saw coming down the hill was since called the Shoemaker-Levy, but in the beginning it was just a big circle with an inner circle, and then all these string of pearls, as you say. So when I went there, I climbed up to the top, the first formation, and I said, I've got to count these. I don't know. I've got to count how many little circles, because they were in descending size and shape, etc. Not shape, but descending size. And I counted, and the smallest one was this big.
Wow.
This big, like a little, like that. 22 of them exactly. And that was a big, oh my God. It was like, whoa. So that was the first time I think there was a real direct reference to cosmic events in our solar events, in our solar system. The fact that a comet went into Shoemaker-Levy was big news, and it was referenced by the circle makers, and that's of note. Why? I mean, what is that saying? What is that doing? I mean, it's sharing knowledge. It's beyond words. You know, you can make of it what you will, but the feeling you probably had, Reuben, being in that crop circle, was connection.
Yes, very much. And there were other crop circles that were also shaped like insects or
the
scorpion.
The insect thing, I've never gotten that, to tell you the truth. It never called to me. In a big general sense, I thought it was an acknowledgement of all of life and other life forms. Beyond that, I haven't seen a lot of sacred geometry in some of them, but I think they're all authentic. And it might have been a bit of whimsy, a little bit of whimsy on the part of the circle makers, because they do have a sense of humor.
Who are the circle makers, Shawn? Are they extraterrestrial, or are they from here? When you make reference of the circle makers,
nobody really knows. It is an incredibly vast intelligence that includes and encompasses all our cultural history, because you've got yin yangs that show up in crop circles. That's a Buddhist thing in our history. The reference to sacred sites, the way they appear. So that it's showing that whatever this consciousness and intelligence is includes us to a degree, our collective unconscious, if you will. One thing is very interesting, you guys. All the years that I've gone, I have seen that the circle makers do not want to be seen. They do not want to be seen. Oh, you can see the light forms that they emanate, the different luminosities that appear connected to crop circle, but actual beings or something like that, no. And you can't even begin to second guess why. What is that about? What is that about? Is that saying we're not ready? Is that saying, well, we're not ready? They've hinted that there are beings, and I have to call up the information here about the Arecibo. Carl Sagan, what was that? The Voyager that they put out into space in the 70s.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and the crop circle responded to that. And in that response, digital, you know, like pixels, pixels in the field made of wheat, was the depiction of a being that was shorter than us, 3.5 feet, by the way they interpreted that formation. And that formation was years ago. There are other connections in that formation that you could look it up, and it's a study in itself. How would you find it? It would be online.
Yeah, here, I'll let me get that up for us. Because it is a very good.
It's a tie-in, a potential tie-in to ufology. Very good. Look at that. So the one on the left, you can see the little in the middle is like a human, right? And this is made from wheat being stomped down by, or pressed down, by the way. And on the other one, you see something shorter with a big head. And above that, the wiggly lines coming down are DNA strands. So the DNA comparison is that there's a lot of similarity, but there's a little bit of a difference. And that's shown in this reply glyph from the circle makers. At the bottom, there's a reference to their location, which let me get my glasses on here, which showed, I'm sorry, just above the bottom, you see little dots that are representing the universe and the location. Our location is indicated in the one on its left, on the left on my screen. I don't know what it is on yours.
Yeah.
And on the right is the location of the reply glyph beings. And below that is something that is so interesting, because we show a big device that was the way we sent the that device into the air. That's how we sent it. That's the sending device, Arecibo. On the left, on the right side, the reply shows another design that could represent how they sent the reply. And that particular image below was a crop circle that appeared in the field right near where these where the reply glyph appeared at a space telescope. So this is a very significant connection to ufology, UAPs, what we know or what we think we know about physical aliens. But there it is. Oh, amazing. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, the digital one's definitely easier to see, but to see it in the actual form where it is, actually pixelated in, the edges are all so clean. It's even made at an angle, it's not even straight with the fields itself. And they were still able to get that pixelation so perfect.
Yes, very good. And, that field contained that other. Do you also have the picture of the face? It was also in the field that came at the same time.
Yeah.
So the face adds to the mystery, because there had never been anything like that crop circle. I forget what year this was. Do you know what year this appeared? In the 2000s, I think.
Yeah, was it the earlier 2001? Yeah, that's an amazing one too.
That's another story, but that's not the one.
It's not the one.
The other one, it looks like the face of Turin or Jesus. That's what I heard.
Yeah, it looks like a face that's framed.
Yeah.
Very close look. And
yeah, I got it.
The pixelation on it is amazing. And the question is that our face looking at them or their face looking at us?
Wow.
So it would be this one.
That's the one. Oh boy, look at that. And if you get back away from your screen, you can see clearer the design.
Yeah, the eyes are clear, the nose is clear, the mouth is clear, the outline of the face kind of being framed in that box.
Right. And no hoax has been able to duplicate anything of this caliber. So that adds to the mystery, because that was in the same field as that response glyph that you were just showing. So who are they? No one knows. If anybody says they know, oh, I know these are people from Earth, or these are aliens from Zeta Reticuli, they don't know. Sorry, that's speculation. And okay, it's okay to speculate, but there's nothing in the way of proof or indication of exactly who. And again, they do not want to be seen. But the closest we have is the glyph and then this face.
Wow. What
Yeah,
do you
pretty
think?
Exciting.
What do you think they're trying to tell us, Shawn?
Well, number one, that we're all connected. There's no question about that. Number one, we are definitely connected. That they're aware of us, whoever they are, and also by their fruits shall ye know them. Take a nice quote from one of our amazing masters in our history. If you look at their fruits, if you look at what they actually do, you learn a lot about their nature. One thing is there's humor. There's very funny things that happen and that are shown in crops. So sometimes the weed is twisted in a certain way, like figure this out. You know, that's great. And so humor, but also this undercurrent of sacred geometry. We're aware of the secrets of the universe, how the universe was made. And my own thought is that they are experts in photons, the subatomic non-local correlation. They are experts about light and the way they can use light. And there's a new book out, just came out by Robert Temple, about the possibility that plasma itself has intelligence, and that there are some intelligences that know how to use that. And that might be one of the ways that they, the circle makers, present balls of light, pillars of light, funnels of light. I've seen a funnel of light that blew my mind. And so it's kind of fun, sort of fun. Over the years, I've gotten used to it in England, in Wiltshire, where they appear mostly, so that when I'm there, you can just sort of feel that there's a huge intelligence that's connected here. It's a strange feeling. Of course, I am a medium and a channel, but I do feel, and a lot of people feel that the minute they get out into Wiltshire and into the fields, there is another presence of intelligence. And so, yeah, interconnectedness. The other thing, Alex, I would say is that we have to be so careful of projections of what we want them to be saying, and fear projections, fear stories. Those are things to be very much avoided and seen as a personal problem. If somebody has a big fear story about a crop circle they go into, that's their issue. That has nothing to do with the crop circle itself. You follow?
Yeah.
So that's why interpreting the big picture of what they're doing, why they're here, is too much, let's say, polluted by projection at this point still. But I think we're on the right track by couching it as sacred geometry, huge intelligence from the universe that we're just beginning to debrief for ourselves, just beginning. And it's been what, many years, many decades that they've been coming and presenting these designs. Did that answer the question? The answer was there's no answer to who.
I was also remembering Colin Andrews, who was also a well-known crop circle researcher,
Right.
and
Also
I
a
remember
friend.
she great guy.
Yeah.
I remember him talking about one of the crop circles. I'm trying to remember it, but he said, "Mother, it means Mother Earth is crying.
Right.
We need
There's
to
an
take
interpretation
better
for-
care of our planet." That's been the warning, or the
Right.
what these symbols. Could you elaborate on that, Shawn?
Well, again, let's look at projection. I respect Colin's work, but it's a little bit of a projection to say Mother Earth is crying. That's a very human assumption. But if we look to see that some of the formations seem to reference climate change, again, let's go back to the Shoemaker-Levy formation. There it was. There was, oh God, there's been 2 or 3 that formations that reference eclipses. So they're referencing things in our solar system, and they're referencing what's happening on the planet. And they have to put it in such a way that we can try to make sense out of the connection. And it's up to us. But if we look to see without projecting on it, just look at the actual formations. We do have to take care of our planet. And it's so beautiful that the crop circles appear in nature, in the wheat. And there's no harm. There's harm to none. You know, if you think, oh, can I jump into John Mack for a minute?
Oh,
Yeah,
please.
yeah.
This
I
is your
mean,
program.
oh, great.
Wherever you want to go
Okay,
with it.
this is such a wonderful thing. I don't know. This partly addresses, you know, what are they saying? John Mack and I became friends in 2004, the year that he died. And I was with also him and Barbara Lamb, another great researcher, great friend.
Barbara, yes.
And I know you know. And he hadn't been in a crop circle yet. We were in meetings and Chad talking. And John Mack, I can't even begin to describe him. You guys could state, you know, he's the Harvard professor that regressed hundreds and hundreds of people. And anyway, came to some wonderful conclusions with his regressions that that's too big a topic to get into. But anyway, John, I had the honor of being able to take him into his first crop circle. And as we're driving there, and he's asking me all these questions. And he said, well, have there been abductions in this area? And he says, I don't call them abductions, I call them encounters. I said, good. I said, no, they haven't. Not that we know of, you know. And so he said a couple other things, and I said, hang on. Are you equating the beings that abduct to the circle makers? And I'll never forget what he said, because I was very much resisting that he would say that those who abduct might be the ones that are making the circles. That really rubbed me the wrong way. But he came through and he said, well, Shawn, it's all from source. It's all from source. And so that took my paradigm of view up another level. And I told that to that author, Ralph Blumenthal, who did a wonderful book recently. And he's put that story in the book, which I'm so glad. So it's been documented in Blumenthal's book. So I forgot your question.
I don't know if I can remember it. I've been fascinated with all the answers.
Well, I'll throw another question in the mix here. So, what does make you say that you know, the abduction phenomena and the crop circles aren't related by necessarily the same people?
Because there's been absolutely nothing to indicate it. There have been no abductions around crop circles, near crop circles. There have been UFOs spotted. I've taken a couple pictures myself. I was in a crop circle and I was trying to take a picture of a plane. A friend of mine was flying over, and I thought, I'll get a picture of that plane. When I got the picture back, it was digital. That was what year? In the late 90s, I think. There were 3 UFOs in the image, in the pictures, which I did not see. So they're there, but they're never associated with the actual production of a crop circle. It's light that is associated with the production, and wind, light and wind. So there's nothing to put the two together. So what my answer, and that gives me a sense of peace about it, is that in the enormity of the universe, there are countless civilizations, countless belief systems, countless scientific discoveries of different kinds. There are some common denominators that we all share. Quantum physics. These guys are real masters of the quantum. You know, but there's been nothing, Alex, to show that it could be the same beings that abduct. Nothing. everybody looks for it, but no.
Mm-hmm.
So my own potential explanation of that is it's a different civilization, and that is choosing to reach out in a totally different way.
Sometimes, Shawn, I've heard, or sometimes people that may find a circle out on a field that tends to be swirled. Sometimes it might be connected with what's known as a saucer's nest. In other words, an object had actually landed there, and then people have referenced it as a crop circle, when in actuality, it's a trace landing of an object on
Right.
there.
That happens. That's happened a lot in Switzerland. But in modern day, with crop circle phenomena, it doesn't happen that way. The landing spots, landing marks, the formations are too intricate to be landing marks.
You mentioned earlier that most of these formations are appearing in England, and that's due to the sacred site locality.
Right, sacred site correlation, but also because my interest is consciousness, that's where people care. That's where the consciousness is, the researchers that can go out in the field and measure and try to look at the phenomena. So for me, the person is very personal. All I can do is look at what is. And what is that most of the formations happen in England, where there are a lot of conditions that make it conducive. Again, the aquifers, the chalk ground, the fact that there are good fields available, and also there are people that really care, that want to go out there, that want to pursue it. It's one of the things, you guys, that really gets me, is that we don't have that in the United States. We have Jeff Wilson, who's got his ICCRA organization back in the Midwest, I guess.
Yeah.
And
International, what's it stand for? International Crop Circle Research Association.
ICCRA, you can look it up online. And and they've had some authentic, really nice crop circles that have sacred geometry in them. But it just kind of fizzled because there's maybe two guys that have gone out and really worked with it, Jeff Wilson and I've forgotten his name. Oh, yeah. So to me, that there's a correlation there. I have all these uncanny stories. I have another one about that idea of consciousness pulling attention to a country, and then a crop circle appears. Who's the man? There was a researcher, I've forgotten his name now, and he had occasion to give a lecture in South Korea. And there was a really good group of active people there that attended, people that were very enthusiastic. And lo and behold, a crop circle appeared in a rice field. Very big, big design, good design, had sacred geometry in it. Everything pointed to it could be the circle makers. And boy, was I hooting and hollering when I saw that information, because there it was, the consciousness connection, people that cared. And Ziegler, I think that might have been Ziegler that was there. I'm not sure the name, but that's pretty amazing. So why in England? That's one of the reasons. The people are there that care. And it's such a central hub to European countries.
Yes.
Everybody can come over from France and Italy easily. From California, not as easy, but
I was amazed the amount of people that came from so many different countries, and it just seemed to be a magnet.
Yeah, I remember being in a crop circle one time over near Avebury, and there was a group of Asian-looking fellows and a couple of ladies, about 12 of them, in a circle in the middle of one of the circles, meditating. And I went over to them, and they stopped finished their meditation. And I said, "Where are you from?" And they said, "Hong Kong." Okay.
Wow.
That's when we had gone to internet, which was a major shift.
Yeah.
Because that was 1994 that Stuart Dyke and Mark Fussell started the cropcircleconnector.com, which you should all look at. 1994, that was your year, our year, and really big in 95. And there was even a crop circle, like a web. Because
Oh, yes.
you
Beautiful.
remember when the internet started, it used to be called the web.
Yeah. Yes.
We're aging ourselves. So, yeah. But so there are references from circle makers of events like the web. That's one of them. The appearance of the internet.
I heard it took 2 days for it to finally develop.
Oh yeah, there were some add-ons.
Yeah, that's
that.
so you have one formation, then the next day there's more added to it.
Is that common?
No, it happens, but it's not common, and it's always noted.
Mhm.
And there was one, the very last crop circle of this last summer's season, which was in August of, I think the 8th or 9th, I don't remember the date, but in August, there was a formation at Etchelhampton Hill that was just beautiful. And about 4 days later, it was evolved into an even more elaborate formation. You can check that out on cropcircleconnector.com. It was gorgeous. Phase 1, phase 2, they call it.
You've probably been asked this question many times, but how do you differentiate a authentic crop circle with a hoax crop circle? What are the
A lot of
differences?
ways. One thing is you can just look at it and see what you feel. That's very basic stuff, because it could be messy. It probably doesn't have any sacred geometry in it. There are walk lines into it, mud from that's on the flattened wheat from where the guys stomped it out, and the bent nodes, the bent stalks that show up in real crop circles, bent not broken, that wonderful phrase. That when the wheat is laid down, the stalks are bent not broken, and you see a lot of broken stalks in the hoaxed formations.
Remember the explosion cavities and the bent
Oh yeah,
formation.
the expulsion cavities. Yes. Oh, that was Ilas's great contribution too. Yeah, our friend Ilas.
She mentioned that it's like it's boiling inside the plant stem and causing it to bend over. And she said that sound frequency might have been part of the method of used to create these formations.
Like a microwave energy or something.
Exactly.
You know what's interesting, Ruben, is there are less and less expulsion nodes.
Oh.
And here's my theory on that, along with some other changes in the phenomena, is that I think the circle makers have evolved their technology. So they don't need to have the expulsion cavities as much. They do, but not. And also, they definitely evolved the technology in terms of people. There was a story of a couple in 1979. Before crop circles were known, they were only simple circles, and they were hit by the energy of a circle being made. It's never happened before, never happened since. And their hair stood on end. They were sort of electrocuted in a minimal way. It took them 2 weeks to recover. That's been documented in some of the crop circle books. That kind of accident doesn't happen anymore. You wouldn't see that happen. It was an accident. Somebody goofed. And of course, they were walking in the country and they saw wind, and it was a wind like a vortex of wind. And they just kept walking. And got caught up in the vortex, and it was a circle forming around them, and then they had these, these after effects. So the idea that the circle makers are evolving their technology is not something people talk about much. You have to kind of understand a lot about the phenomena to kind of get, they have a technology that's getting better when it comes to crop circles. I mean, there's the 777 story I can tell. It's possible that a crop circle can be made by one flash of light based on a particular event. And how could that happen? We can't even begin to imagine. That was something John Mack, bless his heart, when we got into the car and out of the car at the crop circle, we had to walk through the fields to get to the formation. And as we're walking, he's yakking away. He's talking amazing things that he says, and his questions and his assumption, his speculations are amazing. So we got to the edge of the crop circle, and I hadn't said anything, and he stopped like this. He went, whoa. This. He was literally stopped in his tracks, and he stayed there, and he looked around, and he said, I never forget this, imagine the power, the force that it took to do this, because it was a big circle. That was at the bottom of the formation, a big, a lot of lay. And he said, imagine the power that it took to make this. And if you do that, if you imagine, if you go into a crop circle, like next time you get into one, Ruben, look around and just try to imagine what John Mack was saying. What kind of power, what kind of force, what kind of mechanism can make this, can do this? Pretty interesting.
One thing, it reminds me, Shawn, these formations, they're enormous in size.
Some of them,
many, and we have pictures that that will show of you and being in these formations. But one of the things I used to do that I don't do here is I take off my shoes and socks and I walk barefooted first.
Yeah.
It was so I could connect with the formation, and I sit down and I meditate. Then I'll go and do the whole scientific measurements and stuff like that we would do. But I found that as a ritual. Of course, we don't get that many crop circles here in the U.S. or here in California. We've had some, but I'll share some more information on that a little bit. But it's amazing. Going back to that energy, what types of sensations have you felt, and do you think there's any healing aspects to this energy?
Sorry,
healing.
Healing.
If there's any healing aspects to the energy for people, have you come across any stories?
Sure. I always, as a psychologist and transpersonal therapist and channel and medium and all that, there's great power in the subjective consciousness of people that want to be healed. And is there an objective source of some vibration that heals? I don't know about that, but I do know people have had amazing healings and partial healings, partly because they are stepping into something that is from beyond human knowledge, something that is potentially of the divine. And when people step into a formation and they have that in their consciousness, in their anticipation, incredible things. People are always saying, oh, I felt lightheaded, I felt this, I felt that. And everybody's very different on that, Ruben. It's a very individual reaction. And there are some people that try to measure. There was a researcher named Paul Weige. I don't know if you got to meet.
Oh, Paul Weige, yes.
Yeah.
He passed away.
Wonderful researcher, right? And he used to measure with a device. Oh God, what's it called? A device that could measure the energy, where it was the strongest and where it was the weakest, and all that. And there is energy, but how you use it is up to you. You know. Yes, there is energy there, and that's a big term, energy too broad. But some people will take it that way and feel
Yes.
a buzz, really feel a buzz. I mean, look at John Mack. Whoa.
Yeah, I have two quick stories to share with you in regards to the healing aspect. I remember when the triple spiral Julia was was made aware of, and people were entering it, and we went into that. And there was a gentleman that was really sickly throughout the trip, and so I laid down, and I was having some stomach problems, but I just felt myself the pain going away, and then I heard this man laughing his head off, and I looked over, and it was that gentleman who was real sickly throughout the trip. He was a whole different person.
Yeah.
And then I saw these dowsers that were walking right up to me, and their dowsing rods would splay open, right? And then when they walked backwards, they would go back to their original position. And we have a
Yeah.
picture of you too, holding some dowsing rods and then a remarkable object in the background.
Yeah.
We can share.
Before we hop into that picture, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we can pull up that picture and get the story behind it.
Yes, and that would open up that window of talking about balls of light.
Exactly. We'll be right
Okay.
back.
Great. Me too. I'll be right.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
The experiencer phenomenon is happening for a lot of people just like you all over the world. People are telling very similar stories about personal encounters with non-human intelligence. The Mutual UFO Network has research, resources, and support to help you make sense of what is happening. Our experiencer community is growing every day. Join MUFON, find your friends.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
And we're back. Shawn, you were going to tell us a little bit more about your thoughts on the healing question.
Well, when you go into a crop circle, if you're sensitive to it, you feel an enormous intelligence, an enormous neutralizing energy. Let's call it a neutralizing energy that neutralizes all your thoughts somehow. It's like all things are possible. You're connected to a multiverse. In other words, everything opens up because you're in this neutral zone. And a lot of people, that's all it takes to let go of an affliction. Because sometimes physical things, and I'm not a physical healer, are manifestations of psychological states. And sometimes an experience like that can just crack it open and poof, whatever it was is gone. So whether it's a measurable energy or not doesn't matter. It's that it can work for people, that sense of healing connection. And I'm glad you had it. You had it, Ruben. And I'm sure that when you walked into the triple Julia, that formation, you could feel an otherness.
Yes. Yeah, that's still with me. And the other quick item was, trying to remember her name, Jane Ross, I believe. She was in charge of the crop circle research.
Yeah. Yes, right. Friend of Colin Andrews' friend.
She apparently, on 1994, we had walked into the one that looked like the CBSI, the formation.
Uh-huh.
And that was fantastic. But what she did was she shared with me that she had collected the seeds from that formation. And when she got home, she found out that her son was diagnosed with a tumor behind his eye.
Ooh.
And so what she suggested was for him to ingest those seeds periodically with water and that. And that finally, and that he was being treated, but after him taking the seeds, the tumor started to reduce in size, and finally it disappeared. And I thought that's an interesting story. So ever since then, whenever the formations I walked into, I always collected the seeds with the stem and brought them back.
I love to sit in the middle of a crop circle and eat the seeds.
Well,
My inner child loves that.
Yeah.
Ruben, was it this one?
Yes, that's it.
That's a neat one.
Oh, I see. So there was even a correlation with the design being an eye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. The eye of the CBSI, and then her son's health issue, and
it's a neat formation because the inner circle, you can see it almost kind of goes outside of that eye shape a little bit, just on the top and the bottom there.
Oh, it does, doesn't it? That is an interesting implication. Eyesight that reaches out beyond.
Yeah.
There you go. We're being watched.
Oh boy. Well, every year it comes, and every year we get nervous that, oh, what if it's done? What if the phenomena's done? There was speculation this year because there were so few formations that the program, the curriculum of the circle makers with us, what might be concluding, and that's a projection, that's an assumption. Nobody has anything to base that on, except there were fewer formations, and yet they were more intricate and very, very deep and rich. So every year we say, okay, we're just going to be grateful if they show up again. And they do. So Ruben,
yes,
you had that experience of the energy and helping you to heal your stomach.
Yes, that was. I was really quite taken back to that, and then the dowsing was also very interesting. I went I went with a tour group, or we had a tour group, and most of them were all dowsers, and I remember them using pendulums, and they would walk into formation, and they would take out the pendulum, and then, man, that thing would just spin crazy. Without them moving their hand, they would just hold it steady, and then the thing just going like crazy. And we went into a formation that looked like a star, and then something really interesting, Shawn, that I wanted to share with you and Alex was that one night we wanted to meditate a group of us wanted to meditate, and our projection was a 10-pointed star. And so we form a group, and it turned out to be 5 men and 5 women. I don't know how that happened, but it just was balanced. There was 10 of us. So we just took the time to meditate and project. And then sure enough, a couple of days later, there was a formation that appeared of a 5-pointed star overlaid by another 5-pointed star. So you had 10 points. There's no words to describe it. It's just amazing magic, I could say.
It's mind-boggling, isn't it? It's mind-boggling. But it's the power of consciousness, There it is, the demonstration of subatomic non-local correlation. We're correlated. That's the best I can do.
We do have some pictures that you had shared with us, and we'd like you to go ahead and share with the audience the pictures, and there you are.
Okay.
What year was that?
This was 2010. I did not take the picture, obviously. That's me dowsing in the East Field. And a man that I had never met walked up to me this summer when I was at the Crop Circle exhibition in Wiltshire. And he said, "Are you Shawn Randall? This is your picture." Huh. And he handed me that. And as you can see above my head is a silver orb that I didn't see at the time, nor did the photographer. But it's a pretty remarkable photograph. Mm-hmm. I've never seen silver orbs. I've seen the balls of light and other light phenomena connected to crop circles, but this was really kind of a hit in my brain to see that. And then subsequent to that, are you all familiar with the Skinwalker Ranch?
Yeah.
TV show? Well, I happen to have that on. I don't watch it regularly, but there was a guy that had taken a video of a field, not a crop circle field or anything like that, but at the Skinwalker Ranch. And he had an orb identical to this in his picture, in his video. And whoa, that got to me, because that's a connecting factor between England and time, because this is 2010, and the current time, Skinwalker Ranch, which is in the United States. What is that connection about with the silver orb? What is the silver orb? So ask me a question. I don't know where to start on this, because there's so much to say.
I mean, tell us about the which circle was this that you were in?
It was a formation that had a lot of controversy. Wouldn't remember the design. It had some kind of underlay thing that wasn't very well done. And that was a summer that History Channel, or one of those not ancient aliens, but a skeptical scientific point of view, made a couple of hoaxed formations to prove that people could do it. Of course, when people make them, it takes them many, many hours, and they do it daylight. They don't have the same conditions that the authentic ones form. So this formation I was dowsing was a questionable one. And that's why I was dowsing it, I think, probably. Although it's fun to douse them anyway, because you find out where the centers are and where the power spots are. Wow. So the silver ball, have you guys seen much of that in the silver balls?
I actually, it was in 95, I photographed a picture of Colin. No, it was 96, excuse me. When Julia formation appeared close to Stonehenge, and there was this object that I caught in the back, up in the sky, and it just so happened that my other friend, who was part of the tour group, she took a picture of Colin, and the same object she caught the same thing. So it wasn't
Ooh.
like a defect or anything, and we sent the photos to Collins, and he actually
What was the object?
it was hard to it was black. It was a dark. It was like as a shadow, like this object has. There's a for depending on where the sun is hitting. So the balls of light. Was wondering if you could also share that with us, Shawn,
Sure, sure.
the connection.
It's really good. What you're referencing is the common experience of different people seeing the same thing from different angles and photographing them. That's legendary in ufology, how important that is. And it is also in the pursuit of balls of light. And I have to throw this in. Have you guys seen many photos of big black spheres, pure black, dark black spheres?
I've had people describe them to me. That the color is blacker than any black that they've ever seen, or they see it in the night and it stands out because it's even darker than night sky somehow.
You have heard of that? Okay. Well, I've heard of it too, connected to crop circles. And this summer, when I was in the crop circle exhibition, and this man walked up to me and handed me this picture of myself, it blew my mind. There was another man there named Beeke, Beake, Pierre Beeke, and he's French. And he is one of these people that seems to get photos of phenomena. Some people are real good at just getting it. There's some connection that they have, that it isn't all accidental that they get a photo that shows up with an object in it. So he was there that afternoon, and he showed us some pictures, us being me and a couple of friends. And he had been over to this windmill called the Wilton Windmill in England. There was had been a crop circle there. And he took a picture. It was really kind of creepy. It was a really big black sphere, and it was partially behind a cloud, or maybe 1/16 of it was behind a cloud. And he had taken rapid fire photographs, less than a second between frames. And it was in one frame only. And he didn't see it. And he was there. So these multidimensional objects that get photographed, because of digital cameras, we were able to capture images like the one you've got on the screen with this silver ball. So the balls of light, the light balls, are easy to photograph, not so easy to attract. Not so easy to say, hey, come on down. Let's meet in the field. But it does happen. So my story with the balls of light, I have several stories, but my story is I'm collecting stories from people, and it's an area in the crop circle research that has not been documented, has not been researched. People have told stories, they've been put in books, pictures, the videos. There's at least 3 good videos of balls of light, and online, a couple of them online, that are authentic, really good. Of course, that's my opinion, but most people agree. And so I have made up my mind this last summer that I was going to collect these stories of interaction between people and balls of light, because one of my pet loves is interconnectedness and consciousness, being a channel, trans channel, and all that that's in my background. I find it so exciting that there is a level of communication that happens between people and balls of light. I don't know about the silver balls. I haven't heard of any consciousness link with those, but they might be there.
Mhm.
So, where would you like to go from here? Would you like to hear some of the stories that people have told me about
Yeah, we'd love to hear some.
their interconnectedness? There's one really grand story that I told you, Ruben, but I'll start with the other ones that are not so grand but beautiful. I met a couple years ago at the edge of the East Field, and in this particular area that they throw tires away. It's right off the edge of the road. And so a lot of people call it, oh, did you go to the tires? You know, sort of referencing it that way. And they said, oh, we come every year to see the balls of light. And we're here on our anniversary. And we come every year at the anniversary of seeing the balls of light. And I said, really? Have you ever photographed them? She said, oh, yes. Like, of course. And she showed me one of her videos of a ball of light. And they would talk to it and it would move. And they would ask it to come closer and it would come closer. I didn't see that particular video, but they have it. So they come and they sit in the same place at the edge of the field every year. I didn't see them this year, but they're getting old. I don't know. Anyway, they're sitting at the edge of the field and they meditate and they ask the balls of light to appear. And they appear and they ask them to come closer and they come closer. And that phenomena of asking them to come closer and they come closer has happened to a lot of people. Happened to Charles Mallet, who is a crappie that you may know, Ruben, when he had the Silent Circle Cafe. It's happened to a wonderful girl I interviewed this year, Carrie Ann McKenna. And Carrie Ann had been a professional singer, now retired. And she had some amazing footage that I have. It's not very good quality. I don't know if I sent that to you guys. I don't think I did. But she has this footage of a ball of light, and she's saying, oh, okay, come closer. And it's starting to come toward her. And that's happened to her every year that she was making it out into crop circles. Her health has prohibited her from doing that. But she made it a point every year of going and having her connection with the balls of light. Like, this is one of the things I do every summer, you know. And so at the end of her little clip that she gave to me or loaned me, I don't have the original. Best I could do was photograph. It's online. I think she put it online. Not good quality, but you see the ball of light, you see it coming toward her, and then the camera stops, and then it picks it up with a ball of light in the distance and two of her friends, and the ball of light comes right between them, just feet away, closer than that silver was to me, and kind of dancing around them, you know, playfully. It's beautiful, beautiful. So that's online. If you Google crop circle balls of light, you know, there's light phenomena of all kinds that appears everywhere, but I'm particularly interested in the correlation between crop circles, consciousness, humans, and balls of light. And so I've collected all these stories and I'm going to keep collecting them. What's the question? We have another question?
Yeah, I just wanted to share with you too. I know Alex has heard me mention this, my experience with balls of light in England in 1994, that magic year, where I was. We were close to an area called Golden Ball Hill, which I did not know the name of it at that time, but I had basically put it out there. And I said, if you read my thoughts and should you appear, do so because you want to, but should you do, I thank you. That's how I stated. And this ball of light started to come up, and then and I started yelling.
What do you mean it started to come up?
It just it's out of nowhere, a ball at a distance started to rise,
Ah,
and I started to yell at my friends, "Hey, I got to whistle and try to get everyone's attention." The ball descended, and then before it descended, though, I had a pair of powerful binoculars, and I looked at it, and it was flat on the bottom, but it had like a dome, amber color, almost like a plasma color to it. And I remember you mentioned plasma there, Shawn. And then, well,
right.
anyway, the object descended, and then I said, "Man, I sure wish these things would appear so that my friends could see them." And boom, 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 three of them came up and formed like a triangle. And they saw it, and I looked through the window. I mean, I looked through my binoculars, and they're all the same shape. Flat on the
Flat
bottom,
on the bottom. That's interesting.
and it had like a curvature to it. The color was an amber. I could still see it in my head. And one of the guys grabbed his camcorder, and he was going to record it. And then something told me they're not going to allow themselves to be seen. And sure enough, when he raised his camera, blip, 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 they disappeared.
Yeah.
And then,
Those
but the
pesky
very
crop
next,
circle makers.
yeah, and the
All
very
right.
next day, Shawn, toward that direction where Golden Ball Hill, we found a new formation. It was shaped like a galaxy. It was fantastic. Walking into it was like like walking on a carpet. I mean, there was a gap between the bent weed and the ground, and when you touched on it, it was like walking on a mattress or something like that. It was
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. But
Did
that
you
was
ever get the connection between the name Golden Ball Hill?
Yeah, that's what's fascinating, was the fact that we were in that area
Well,
known as
that's
Golden Ball
why they
Hill.
named it Golden Ball Hill
Yeah.
long, long, long time ago. So you were in the Pusey Vale, which is this highly active place where there've been major crop circles, and the phenomena really got intricate right in that area. Golden Ball Hill, which is adjacent to Alton Barns, and the East Field. There's the Alton Priors. Each has a name, and you see
Isn't there chalk designs of a horse?
yes, the chalk that's human made, and right, there are white horses all over England.
Yeah,
done by different cultural heritage, ancestral connections, and all man-made and known. It's all documented. But that's great, and that's a really good example of a consciousness connection, because you made that connection, Reuben, and it's wonderful. And the fact that you asked them to come back for your friends, and up comes three of them. That's beautiful.
yeah. It was the whole that trip was magical in the sense that I had no plans nor desires. I mean, crop circles never came up in my mind except for the ones that I've seen presented by Barbara Lamb and a couple of other people. I've seen the presentations, but when I was at home and I was meditating, I was going through a lot of emotions, dealing with depression, dealing with all this stuff. Then out of nowhere, I heard a voice. It was a male voice saying, "You're going to England." And I'm looking around, and I said, "What? Who said that?" And, and then all of a sudden, I had this desire. Why England? And it hit me, crop circles. And then I had this I said, I got to go see them. So I talked to a friend of mine who hooked me up with a tour group that took people to crop circles and other UFO happenings.
Do you know
events.
who it was?
Yes, Joyce Murphy. She had the tour group called Above All Boundaries. And
I don't know her. Joyce Murphy.
Joyce Murphy, yeah. I went with her on 7 expeditions, but what happened was that they liked me and they said, "How would you like to work for us and go on these travels?" And I said, "What?" I took it immediately. I said, "Yes." So that's how I was able to finance my way to go to England,
Oh,
was
that's great.
going to on these tours and meet great people like you and a number of other researchers. So I was very fortunate to had that experience.
Yes, I would say that's a very tangible, significant experience with those balls of light. Really, really beautiful. Responding to you, responding to your consciousness. And what is in that consciousness? Okay. Authentic invitation, clarity of mind, a sense of intention that's, let's say, a higher intention than, oh, I'm just going to get it. It's a level of intentionality and clarity that's important when calling in these kinds of events. And you had that and you experienced that. So to me, common denominator with a phenomena, whether it's balls of light, crop circles, or almost any of it, is intention and attention. And these are the same two energies, intention and attention, of consciousness that drive channeling and mediumship.
Mm.
Intention and attention. So
I wanted, Alex, feel free to jump in. I'm just loaded with questions to ask Shawn here, but
They're all good. They're all good questions.
going back to channeling, my first experience with channeling, actually the main one was I went to a symposium, MUFON, in 1992 in Albuquerque, and they had a state directors meeting, and I somehow was invited to go, and I went, and they were doing a round table, and there was this one woman who was channeling, but I was just listening to her, what she was saying, and I was really awestruck, and I thought, this is interesting. And the fact that she was sharing her interpretations of what was going on with the phenomena, and the gentleman that invited her to sit in and at our meeting, he later, I found out, he got really criticized for bringing her there to that meeting. And I thought, but she said some really profound things, and that, well, then later there's a documentary called Past, Present, and Future, and they interviewed, or I think they changed the title. It's narrated by Rod Sterling, the gentleman that did Twilight Zone.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, there's a clip in there where they interviewed the Project Blue Book team, and one of them mentioned that one of their Air Force officials was doing channeling, and that he was doing that on a number of occasions for them to get information. I thought, whoa, that's something I was not aware of. Here you have channeling being used by an Air Force team, especially Project Blue Book, and you can get that on YouTube to see the documentary. So I was totally so blown away by that. But anyway, how in here you're describing that using channeling is helping to provide answers to a phenomena that's occurring and affecting mankind. Did I get that right?
yes, and I call it evolution of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
In a broad category, a broad term, that we are really in an evolution of consciousness, and it involves all kinds of mystical phenomena, and that's consciousness oriented and directed and informed. And there's a wonderful man you might enjoy reading, Dr. Amit Goswami, Mitgwami, Goswami. And he's a quantum physicist, but he's also a Hindu. I mean, he's also from the East, and he has managed to with terminology, look at the quantum of the soul, for example. And what does that mean? What are the implications? And his one thing he says is consciousness is the ground of all being. Consciousness is the ground of all being. So we're in an evolution to try to grasp this. Since the 1930s, we have, the quantum physicists that showed the correlation and changes that happen subatomically with quantum thought and all of that. And the crop circles are part of that, very much so. And I think the balls of light definitely too.
Yeah. Because
times I've worked with my groups to meditate, we've had phenomena.
Wow. I noticed behind you there's a picture of a crop circle, and wondering if you would like to elaborate on that photograph there in the book.
Well,
Can you grab it and bring it closer to the screen?
Yes, unless you guys you may have it.
Yeah.
Yes, we do have a copy of that one.
There. That's better than me trying to hold this book up. Heavy. By the way, the book is notable. It's written by Karen Alexander, and it's very, very, a lot of beautiful pictures. So this crop circle is like considered to be one of the ultimate formations to occur, because it happened in the middle of the night in the pouring rain. There was somebody asleep in the field next to the field, but there was no one that came in the field, so he could attest to that. And there's 409 circles. You can see the people at the edge of the field, how tiny they are.
Right, way in the background there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I missed that formation because of my timing with flights and everything. But I went to that field the next year, and it's rolling. In other words, it's not a flat field. It's got a lot of like a rolling field. It's like little humps and lumps. And so to construct this, they say would be impossible by people, on the ground. And so it appeared, what was the date? August, I forget. But anyway, 2001, right before September 11th.
Oh, wow.
And some people have speculated what was that, I'll tell you a nice quote about this formation that I love. Michael Glickman, who was a dear friend, he's on the other side now as an excellent researcher. And he could talk forever about sacred geometry and how the intelligence behind these formations is beyond us, and yet we can try to track some of it. And he said this formation came along when there was a little bit of apathy in the air about crop circles. There was a lot of skeptics that were saying, "Oh, this one's hoaxed and that one's hoaxed." That was a consciousness that year, 2001. It was just sort of like, "Is that real? Is that real?" It was a polluting kind of a thing. And then what Michael said, and he put the picture back up because this is his quote and it fits it. He says, "This is like the circle makers were pounding their fist on the table." And they just pounded their fist. Like, okay, deal with it. And boy, that shut the skeptics up.
Wow. Yeah, I have I'm Shawn. I have a question to ask you. But Alex, I was wondering, could you find a triple spiral, Julia?
I bet I can.
Triple Julia. It might be called Woodborough, not Wood.
Woodborough Hill, I believe.
Yeah, Woodborough Hill. Triple Julia.
Triple Julia.
2000.
The reason why, it was 1996 that appeared. And the reason why I bring
that's your magical one, yeah.
Yeah, that was an amazing one. The reason why I bring that up is that when I was speaking at a meeting and or conference, I can't remember, but this lady looked at my. There you go. So what she looked at that photo, and then what she did was she drew the same pattern on a separate piece of paper, and then she overlaid it together with the photo with the drawing, and it out came the 6 spirals like that one there. And I thought, wow, I don't know if I'm describing it, but the fact she was able to overlay the triple spiral and then with the other one underneath, and she came up with that, and I thought, maybe I wonder if that's what we may have is somewhat of a 6-legged Julia. So if we go back to the 4091, you
There
might
it
see
is.
it.
I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it.
What that woman did.
Yeah, she got that and put both images together and came up with that 6-legged. That was fascinating. In fact, I saved her
great.
drawing somewhere.
You know,
I wanted
that's
to.
beautiful. That's consciousness correlation there, right there.
Yeah.
No question about it.
Speaking of that, with the time remaining, did you want to go through those photos that you sent us?
Sure, if you put them up, I'll make a comment. Some of them
All right.
may be worth comment. Some of them. Oh, okay. This was one of the formations I was in, and I was very hot. So this doesn't show it, but the lay where the wheat was flattened had little over like a braid. It was like so but there's not much else than that. That formation was really nice. You want to go to the next one? Okay. Okay, this was the first formation I was in when I got off the airplane. And my friend, I said, let's go right to the formation. And it was the one in the Stonehenge area. And it was a square, and at the corner of the square, it was circles. And there were features in the lay that couldn't be done by humans. You'd have to see the overhead, except what I can say about it is that, you know, when you make a circle, you have to have the protractors poked in the middle, and then you swivel it around to make the design. But there has to be a middle point. And at the corner of this crop circle, each corner had a circle that had nothing in the middle. In other words, the wheat was standing. There had been nothing disturbed in the wheat. It was just the ring that was laid out around in a circle. So it was a really beautiful formation, very authentic. And it had squaring of the circle, sacred geometry too. So there I was, very happy to be in my first crop circle of the year this year.
Oh,
and this I took of the lay because, this is a different formation that had a squiggly design also near Stonehenge. Too bad I don't have the overhead of this, because you could see it was like curvature. The design, not a straight line, but a curved lines. And you could see this. Look how they made the curve. That's pretty amazing.
It's like one pattern overlaying on another pattern, overlaying on another, and
right, coming out to be a curve.
That's mind blowing when you see it live. It's amazing.
And people can't do it.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Oh, this is what I was talking about. There's a ring around, flattened crop around there. And in the middle of this, there's nothing. But for a person to make that ring, there has to be something in the middle to make the design with. You know, unless you're 50 feet in the air somehow. I don't know. There's just no way. So I took a picture of this center, an undisturbed center. And whenever you see an undisturbed center, you know that's a real formation for sure.
That was this year?
Yeah, that was the one I was just
Yeah.
talking about when I first got off the plane.
2024.
2024. Stonehenge, right near Stonehenge. And this was really a nice picture. That's Monique Klinkenberg and Andreas Mueller. Monique is from the Netherlands, and Andreas is from Germany. And they are extraordinary researchers. And Monique, on the left, is set up this exhibit, crop circle exhibit. And she put it in Marlborough in the town. It's traveled with her.
Wow.
But it now has its own home in the Wiltshire area, right near those fields that we've been talking about, Alton Barnes and Gold Mole Hill, all that. Right near there, she has the crop circle exhibition, and anybody that goes to Wiltshire or goes to see crop circles must go see the crop circle exhibition because it's brilliantly done. The pictures, the descriptions, and when she had the grand opening a few years ago, she had it at the Barge, which is, as you know, Ruben, the former hangout for the crappies, the Barge Inn, which is a great food pub thing. Anyway, she had the opening there, and farmers came. And some of the farmers that had crop circles in their fields had no idea about the phenomena. They had no respect for it. First of all, it was, for them, vandalism in the fields. But because Monique did this, farmers came, not all of them, of course, but it changed some minds. It really changed some minds, and that's exciting.
If I can ask one question before we go to the next picture, how long do these crop circles actually stay?
Until the wheat is harvested. And they're usually harvested in August and September. So they're gone by the end of August, basically.
So for you, if you're traveling, do you head over in a certain time of year, or do you head over when you hear that there is, a crop circle that you could go visit?
Certain time of year. It has to be when the crops are becoming mature, and they're sequential. The first crop is canola and what they call oilseed rape over there. And that's the first one that has flowers in it, little yellow flowers. And the first crop circles of the year, the season, appear in the canola. Then those fields get harvested, and the next one along is barley. And that's where you see long, like hair-like extensions on the nodes. Not the nodes, the top of the wheat. So barley is a type of wheat, and the formations that appear in barley are still precursors to the ones that then come in wheat. So that's the third wheat cereal crop that they're used in, the wheat, and then the wheat gets harvested in the end of July, beginning of August, and then they're all gone. So it's a little bit like the mandalas that you see the Buddhist monks making with sand mandalas.
Yeah.
And it's one of the teachings of it is the impermanence. And so as soon as they finish this grand and glorious artistic design, they blow it all away.
So when you went this year, how many did you hit when you went this summer?
I was only able to get into 4, and there were only really 6 because the fields, there had been some flooding. The fields were not real good. And there may have been other reasons why. Who knows what the circle makers are thinking about why there were fewer this year. It may have been, but logically we'd say, well, there weren't as many good fields to use.
Do you need to be...
I was in 4. I was blessed to be in 4.
Do you need to just be in the know of where they are? Or is there a way that you researchers are communicating saying, hey, here's a new one that's popped up. Here's the location of it.
Well, that used to be the old way. The intuitive net. Now we have the internet. But the cropcircleconnector.com, all one word, cropcircleconnector.com, and Bert Janssen's website give the locations. And Bert gets wonderful overhead shots of the whole picture, the whole field, and he pinpoints where they are. And so the latitude and longitude is given, the coordinates on crop circle connector. That's the place to go, because whenever a crop circle shows, they'll get the photo, the overhead. And now the phenomenon of drones has changed the picture again.
Yeah, that's right.
Because drones can photograph and find them much easier than stomping through field after field after field to find where did that crop circle go? Where is it? So it's evolving, and what that's showing is that more people around the world are seeing them. Right? Internet, the drone footage is beautiful. They do it in slow motion. These guys, Nick Bull is one of the wonderful drone, I'd say, photographers, and he puts music to it, and he takes you around the outer. He takes you way close down to the wheat. But for me, there's nothing like being in the actual one, because of what you experienced, Ruben. That energy.
Yes.
That consciousness.
Was there like what they call the grand finale, the one that really knocks?
Yes, what I was referring to earlier, Etchelhampton, that had part 1 and part 2, and that turned out to be the finale, part 2, and that you could look that up online. Etchelhampton. That would be August in the crop circle, the August formations, beginning of August.
How is the crop circle community, Shawn? Is it growing, or is it chaotic, or is it?
I don't know that it's a community yet. Of course, it's growing. The interest is growing, but the number of serious researchers that contribute to looking at the sacred geometry, what they're saying, that number is few, but quality, not quantity. And I have to say, Karen Alexander, Bert Janssen, Ziegler, there's a few of them. And so we have conferences. Karen's putting on conferences, and we get together and talk. And that's like a community. And a good friend of mine, Professor Jonathan de Veerville, is part of that. And Jeff Fitzpatrick. Oh, God, he's making some great contributions. An Irishman named Jeff Fitzpatrick. And so it's kind of a loosely strung community. It's just, it's growing because people are looking at them online and entranced by them. They don't know what to say. But I think generally speaking, they know it's not from people. And that's a big shift of consciousness. Really is. And I would have to say the same as, don't you think that's what's happening with UFOs, UAPs? That the consciousness connection, the consensus is that they're real. We're being visited. There is other civilizations, other consciousness. It's sort of the known thing. Well, that known thing feeling is happening with crop circles now. It's exciting.
Yes.
Can't blame Doug and Dave.
Yeah, right.
Because they're dead physically.
They're dead.
One of them is anyway.
Let me see if I pulled up the right crop circle for this part 1 and 2. Is this the one?
Yeah, part 1. That's part 1. Etchelhampton, gorgeous.
So we got part 1, and then this happened, you said, a day later of part 2.
Oh,
I don't know. I think it was a few days later.
A few days later.
Look at that. Is that gorgeous or what? Whoa.
It looked like little hands.
Yeah.
Putting your finger right in.
Just going to swap back and forth between the two so we can get a good look at the differences here. You can see that there's, they kind of extended the lines in the middle coming from the main circle. And they added more detail to it, which is fascinating that, what that message could mean, that, they needed more into it.
Well, I think, for one thing, people were paying a lot of attention. Remember the the power of attention is strong to the first one. And a lot of attention was being paid. And also, a lot of people were wondering, will there be a grand finale this year? And I don't know, I think it's just a response in dialogue from the circle makers to add this beauty. You can see the love in this.
Mm-hmm.
You can just see it. You can feel it.
The size of it. What I remember, the tram lines. Those are those lines. They're like 5 or 6 feet.
Oh no, 15.
15
Sometimes
feet.
they
Oh
vary,
yeah. When you look at on the other side, yes.
when they vary in size.
Yeah.
Depending
So
on
this one could be, if these are 15 feet apart, this could be, a 45 foot, wide thing we're talking about.
Oh, probably much bigger. A lot of them are 200 feet.
Wow.
Yeah, they're big.
Very big. It's like John Mack again. Oh, wow, look how big this is. Look, oh my God.
But I think we have some more pictures to show.
Yeah, right? we got a few more. I got a little distracted there.
Yeah, that's amazing. Sorry about that, Shawn.
This is a bend. This is one of the corners of one of the formations. I'm not sure which one it was, but it's a good example of the corners, how they can make a corner out of bending wheat.
I like to. I've been enjoying looking at just the floor of all these pictures. Just seeing all of it kind of going in the same direction, or almost like whatever did move through it just moved in one kind of swoop in that counterclockwise direction.
And sometimes they overlay counterclockwise. Sometimes they're this way, and sometimes they're underneath, going the other direction. There tend to be, in a lot of the crops, construction lines. So a basic circle, and then circles overlaying that, but some of the basic construction lines.
Based on that, then, do you think that when these formations are being made, are they doing it, almost like templates, lay down one template first and then lay down the second template and do it in kind of
some
sections?
Of them in segment, some of them, especially when you have part 2 the next day or the day after, part 3 the day after. Ilis, that Ruben from when you were there, our friend Ilis, she did something to demonstrate that the wheat goes down almost simultaneously, like this.
Yeah.
And she demonstrated that by having us walk up and down these walkways that one would go down, one would go up simultaneous, and I can't describe it very well. Yeah. But that's a feature of an authentic formation. Going back to that question you had, Alex.
I think we got one more picture for you.
Yay!
Oh, yay. Yes, okay. That's me and Barbara Lamb.
Barbara Lamb.
Barbara Lamb. We went every summer together as roommates most of the time. And we were in a formation, and Jonathan DeVierville took this picture, and he called this field workers. Field workers. And so the tricky thing is, I'm not sure what the formation was. And I don't think Jonathan remembers. I'm not sure what it was, because I'm looking at the tower that's at the top of that hill, and I'm not sure. It can't be.
I think it might be Devices. Is that the name of the place?
Devices might be near Devices. Yeah, the Etchelhampton area. Yeah, it could be that. I wish I knew which formation it was. But yeah,
wow.
That's the
I'm sorry. Are you doing any? Are you doing any other presentations? And where people are interested to meet you. Or to see you in any U.S. conference on crop circles.
Gee, what am I doing? No, not that I know of. Not that I know of.
I feel like the topic of crop circles has sort of dwindled somewhat in many of these conferences, and
You're right,
it
and
seems
I'm
that we need to
concerned
have
about.
it rekindled. You
Yes, it needs another 409.
know?
The fist on the table to get attention drawn. Barbara Lamb was the best for going around to conferences. She had a lot of slides and everything, and she's fine except that she has problem walking, so she can't walk to these places. And so she was the main presenter, and no, I don't think anybody's really addressing it like it ought to be.
But we have you, and we're really lucky to have you on our show.
Oh, thank you so
Yeah.
much. I can give you one more balls of light
Please.
story that's a mind blower. It's kind of the pièce de résistance, if we're ready and have time for that. The owner of the Hinge Shop, which is a tiny little bookstore right in the middle of Avebury, and Avebury is a stone circle, a sacred site. It's also a little tiny town, and there's this wonderful little store run by Philippe Oulens, who's a Frenchman that owns it. And he told me this story. So he vouches for it. There's usually a street that goes through Avebury, at the end of which is usually a crop circle. That's just a field that gets used a lot. A lot of the fields get used over and over again. So not the same year. And anyway, 4 young men decided they wanted to spend all night in the formation at the end of the street of Avebury. And so Philippe tells me that at 5 o'clock in the morning, he heard this pounding on the door of the store. And he opened it up, and these 4 young men came in, and they said, "We have to tell you what just happened. We have to tell you. We have to tell you." And they had been in this formation for a couple of hours, and they were meditating. They were asking. That's the other thing, you ask, like you did, Ruben. You ask for what you want. We'd like to experience your anything. And I'm not sure exactly how they were asking, but they were asking. And 4 balls of light appeared, similar to you, Ruben. 3, that's fantastic. And 4, and they started moving around, and they described it was like they were dancing with us. And it went on for 45 minutes. And finally, this one young man said, "Come closer." And they came closer. And they came even closer. He said, "Well, come even closer." And they came so close, he said, "I reached out and I touched it with my hand. And I yelled, I screamed." And he said to Philippe, "But I didn't yell from pain, and I didn't yell from fear. It's that I've never felt so much love in my whole life."
Wow.
Hey, Shawn, that was a great story, and we look forward to getting some follow-up questions on the next episode. But I think we have to call it a day here.
Great, that was a good finale, grand finale story.
We'd love to have you back at some other time and continue.
Thank you so much, Shawn.
I'd love to. Thank you, and I hope everybody enjoyed hearing about the otherness of it and taking it in.
Thank you. We'll be in touch.
Okay, thank you.